Hello and welcome to the BillTracker training. This is a brief training that's really designed to walk folks that are new to BillTracker through the basic operations of tracking a bill and running reports. When you log into BillTracker, or I should say when you move to BillTracker, www.billtracker.com, it'll take you to a login page. If you do not have a username and password, you'll need to talk with your BillTracker administrator. They'll be able to get you set up with an appropriate username and password. Once you've put your username and password into the system, you hit the login button. That will take you to the BillTracker calendar. On the BillTracker calendar page, there's a number of things you can do. On the right side of the screen will be any listed meetings you have for the day or for the week. On the left-hand side of the screen will be any third readings. Those are bills that are scheduled on the House and Senate floor for the day. You can print your calendar using the print calendar toggle. You can go to today, or you can go to any individual day or week using the icons on the calendar. The other thing you can do from this page is set up a profile. It merits mentioning at this point that the bills that show up on the calendar are bills for which the person who's logged in is the bill manager. If you want to see what's happening within your organization and there are bills that you're not managing, you'll need to set up a profile. To do that, you use the drop-down and you can use the Create New Profile tool. First thing I need to do is give that profile a name, my profile. Then I can decide what I want that profile to look like. Maybe I want to just priority 1 bills. You don't need to worry about selecting a state. It will default to Oregon. In this case, maybe I want all budget bills and all PERS bills. Not going to add bill managers at this point. I hit the Save button. And now it's going to show me only those bills that fit my profile. If I go back to when session was actually in, we'll take a look at some bills that we're tracking here. There you are. So you can see that when you're actually in session, the bills show up on the main calendar screen. And as I toggle through different profiles, it'll change the view of that screen. All that happens here on the current profile toggle. That's the calendar function of BillTracker. The main navigation lies on this orange bar here along the top. At any time, you can search by keyword or bill number. This bill and keyword search up here only searches the current set of bills. Most of the work gets done over here under this bills toggle. There are a number of options: bills itself, today, recent, tracked, reviews, pre-session, and legislative concept requests for those of you that have all of these functions. If you just select bills, it gives you a list of all the bills for the current session. Today is 24 hours of bills. Recent shows you about 10 days worth of bills. Tracked is a list of all the bills that your firm is tracking. Reviews, pre-session, and legislative concepts we'll talk about as we move along. For now, I'm just going to select the bills toggle. And that, as I said earlier, is going to show me all the bills that have been introduced in the legislative session. Currently, we have the 2016 bills from Oregon. You can see there were 283 bills introduced during the session. We're showing the first 25 of those bills. I can sort by bill number, as I've currently sorted, or by the date the bill was last either introduced or updated and amended. So, what can I do from this page? A number of things. One, you can see we have color cues. Green bills are bills your firm is already tracking. Orange bills are bills that are not being tracked by the firm. You can see on the right side of the screen, there's a link to a PDF version of the bill. If I click on that link, it opens up a PDF version of the bill that I can quickly read to determine whether or not it's a bill I'm interested in. We always show you the relating clause. We always show you the summary of the bill. The other things you can do from this page are: 1, toggle as to whether or not you've read or not read the bill. So as I go through each of the bills to determine if they're bills that I want to track, it makes sense to mark them as read when I've read them. Go through all of those bills, mark them as read. But The key to the application is actually getting bills into the system to track. There are two ways to add bills to the system to track them. The pencil is a quick add edit functionality. The plus adds a number of bills to the tracking queue. We'll start just by quickly adding House Bill 4001 using the pencil quick add edit function. If I click on the pencil, it takes me to a page that we call our bill tracking wizard. Here we're going to edit the tracking. We're going to tell BillTracker exactly what we want to do with the bill. The first thing we have to do is tell BillTracker who is going to manage the bill. The bill managers are the individuals that are going to get email notifications when the bill is scheduled for a hearing. They're also the folks that are going to show up on any reports as people who are tracking or interested in the bill. I can select as many as I want, but I have to select at least one bill manager. So in this case, I'm going to select Kevin Neely and Michelle Rossolo as bill managers. The next thing I need to tell the application is what divisions are interested or what offices are interested. This phrase changes depending on how it's been set up in your system. In this case, this is a budget bill and an education bill. You again have to select at least one division, department, office, but you can select as many as you want. The next options, issue areas, position, priority, scorecard, and tracking, they are all optional. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. But in this case, maybe I do want to assign it to an issue area. Why might I want to do that? Well, the main reason is it will help clarify your reports. So you could run a report first by budget and then by lottery revenue in this case. You can take a position on the bill if you'd like to take a position on the bill. You can establish a priority for the bill. We have priorities 1 through 5. We don't tell users if 1 is a high priority or a low priority or 5 is a high priority or low priority. You need to make sure you have clarity within your organization or firm as to what that means. You can include this bill in a scorecard if you'd like. The application does allow you to basically run a scorecard to see how individual legislators are doing on the bills you care most about. Finally, you can either track the bill or monitor the bill. There isn't a significant difference between tracking and monitoring the bill. You still will get email notifications if you're scheduled to get email notifications. They'll show up on your calendar. The primary difference is bills that are monitored only don't show up on most reports. What types of bill would you want to monitor? Maybe a bill that has a bad relating clause, or you don't care about it right now, but eventually, if it were amended, you might care about it. Once you've determined your bill manager and division, you can simply hit the Save button, and that's going to lock that bill down, and now it's a tracked bill for the purposes of the application. And it takes me into this bill detail page where I can get a little bit more information about the bill. I'll come back and talk to you about this page in just a second, but for now, let's go back to the bills section. So you can see now that bill, House Bill 4001, is green. We are tracking it for the organization. I said earlier there's also this plus functionality. This plus functionality allows you to go through a number of bills and add them to a tracking queue, and then you can come back later and work your way through 5, 10, 15, 20, 100 bills and tell us what you want to do with them. So in this case, I'm going to come down here and find some bills that are not yet tracked. House Bill 4009 is not yet tracked. It turns out if I want to track it, I can hit that plus button. You'll see it turns blue, and it tells me that it's in the tracking queue. If I hit the plus button for House Bill 4010, 4011, and 4012, you'll see now I've told the system that I'm interested in each of these 4 bills. But when the bills are blue, I have not yet completed my work. At this point, it's absolutely critical that I scroll up to the top of the screen and I go into that tracking wizard we just saw. Now when I click on that tracking wizard, you'll see all bills are in there. I had 2 bills in there previously, so now there are a total of 6 bills in there. It's going to ask me again what I want to do with these bills. So I can at this point establish the bill managers for the bill, decide which divisions, save and continue. That takes me to the next bill in the queue. In this case, it's 4022. Here I can again decide who my bill managers are going to be, decide which divisions want to track the bill, any issue areas, positions, or priorities. You may have seen there's this options toggle as well. If I click Show Options, it's going to give me some additional features. These are features that we think are really unique to BillTracker and really can help individual users gather more information about individual pieces of legislation. What's the first thing I can do? Well, I could set a lead manager. Maybe Michelle is going to be the lead manager on this bill. What does that mean? That means every time I run a report on House Bill 4022, Michelle's name is going to be highlighted, or she's going to have in parentheses next to her name, lead manager. The biggest thing I can do here is request reviews. One of the unique features about BillTracker is that it allows users to send out proactive requests for reviews. How do I do that? Well, the first thing I do is highlight the individual division that I want to get the review from. You can see I've set up a number of reviewers here. I can select the reviewer I want to get the individual review request, and then I could type an individual message if I want. How about section 3, question mark, bad, question mark. Now, when that review comes to me, it's going to have this message on it. In addition to this message, it's going to have some stock language that basically says, Kevin Neely has asked you to review this bill. Please fill out the attached review form. So once I've selected the reviewers, I can also then come down, and if I have an individual that I know wants to get a meeting notification, I can set them up to get a meeting notification. In this case, if I know Michelle wants to get a meeting notification, I can set her up to get a meeting notification. Once I've decided who the lead manager is going to be, who is going to get review request forms, and who needs to get meeting notifications, I can hit the Save and Continue button. As the orange circle spins, it's doing a couple of things. First, it's logging the bill into the bill tracking system to make sure that it's tracked. It's also sending those emails to Kevin and, in this case, Tester, and those emails are going to request that the bill gets filled out and completed. And that takes me to the next bill in my queue. And again, I would go through, identify my bill managers, decide if I wanted to route the bill out for review. If so, hit Show Options. If not, hit Save and Continue, and that takes me to the next bill in my tracking queue. You can see I still have 3 bills in here. I can do a number of things. I could skip this bill if I want to come back to it later. I can remove all the bills from the tracking wizard, or maybe I inadvertently put this bill in and I just need to take this bill out of the wizard, and that'll take me to the next bill in the wizard. You can see here I now have 2. If I leave those bills in the wizard, anytime I come back to that tracking wizard, it will remember that I have those 2 bills in there. Do remember this, if you leave bills in here, they are not being tracked by BillTracker. So at some point you are going to need to come back into that tracking wizard, identify a bill manager and a division or a department, so that we can get you notified when that bill gets scheduled for a hearing. I'm going to go ahead and leave those 2 bills in the queue. We'll come back to them later. So now if I go back over to my bills section, you'll see I'm tracking that full range of bills down here. The bills that I left in the queue are still in the queue. The bill that I pulled out of the queue is obviously not being tracked. So what else can I do from this page? A number of things. You probably noticed when I moused over the actual bill number itself, it's a hot hyperlink. At any point, I can click on that hyperlink, and it takes you to what we call our bill detail page. That bill detail page gives us some more information about the bill. Who is the bill manager for the bill? Is anybody getting notifications by email? What's the status of the bill? From here, I can edit the tracking. If I wanted to change the divisions or the position, I'd edit the tracking. I can also remove all of the tracking. This remove all tracking really does eliminate everything associated with the bill. You want to be very cautious when you use it. Again, it's not easy to use. If you hit it, it's going to ask you if you're sure, and then you're going to have to hit the save button. So it's a 3-step process to actually eliminate the tracking on the bill. If you do remove all of the tracking, it takes away any information about the bill. We don't know who was managing the bill. We don't know who the interested parties are, any of their positions or priorities. And when we get down here to the tabs, it will also eliminate any data associated with the tabs. So let's go ahead and go down to those tabs now. There are a number of orange tabs. These are the navigations in the individual bill detail page. The first 3 tabs, Documents, History, and Meetings, that's all information that we gather from the state. We do update the application every 5 minutes, so typically that information is very current. Let's look at documents first. First thing it tells us is any versions of the bill. This bill had no amendments, so it was enrolled and signed by the governor in the form in which it was introduced. Had that bill had amendments, they would show up here under the bill amendment section. Those are amendments that were adopted. Any proposed amendments are amendments that are submitted to the committee but not adopted. And then finally, under additional documents is any other information that's provided to us by the legislature. So you can see we have a fiscal impact statement. This bill has a floor letter, a range of meeting materials that are submitted by interested parties, a preliminary staff measure summary, a revenue impact statement, and then the final staff measure summary. By clicking on the hyperlink to any of those, it will take me to that detailed information. All of that was found here under the Documents tab. The History tab is just that, a short history of what's going on with the bill. Again, at any point, I can see where the bill is going or where the bill has been. Meetings is a list also of any meetings that have occurred or are likely to occur. They're listed by date, and from here, if I didn't add them to my calendar earlier, I can add them to my calendar here. The Notes section. This is where we start with what we think of as the virtual file cabinet for the bill. So this allows me to add a note to the bill. You'll see a number of folks have already added notes to this bill. To add a note is simple. I click on the Add Note button. It gives me the option of sharing that note. A quick note on that note is if you select the Shared button, it will allow that note to be viewed by any users of the application. It defaults to not sharing it. If you don't select the shared option, the only people that can see your note are other bill managers or administrators. In here, you can type the Magna Carta if you want. We don't care how many words are in there. We don't care if there's spaces or characters. Type whatever you want. The next thing you need to do is assign it to a division. If you do not assign it to a division, that note will show up on any report for any division that's tracking the bill. So you can see this is both a budget and education bill. In this case, I want that note to be assigned to the education division. Now that note will only show up in reports run for education. When I hit the Save button, you'll see that note ends up at the top of the screen. One thing you may want to be aware of, the edit function over here on the right side of the screen. If someone does come in and edit a note, it will not change this name, nor will it change the date. That is, in fact, the date the note was created, and here is who created it. We do not track, at least on this screen, who edited it. We do, of course, track that information. It's just not shared on this table. That all happens under the Notes section. Remember earlier you had the option of sending out a bill review. We did send out a couple of bill reviews. Let's see if there's any associated with this bill. Ah, yes, there they are. So here you can see I read the bill and I wrote, I hate the bill, and I suggested that Amy Williams take a look at it. Any of these that are in green notes are notes that have been accepted. Any that are in white are notes that are review requests that have not yet been completed by the reviewer. Any reviews that haven't been completed, I have a couple of options. I can click on the Send Reminder icon. That will send a notice to that individual, reminding them they need to take care of their review. I can also get rid of the review request, and that'll pull it out of the system and notify the recipient that they do not need to complete the review. I could also request a review here if I didn't see a review that went to the person I wanted it to go to. By simply clicking on the Request Review, it'll open up a window and allow me to assign it to an individual reviewer and type in that message if I needed to. All of that lives under the Bill Reviews section. For those of you that are working with the state, you have a couple of other options: Fiscal Impact and Governor's Reviews. From here, you can send a fiscal impact statement. You can see I've already routed one to a reviewer. Sending out a fiscal impact statement is easy. I just figure out who I want to have review the bill and assign it a date and time that it needs to be completed, and I can type a message in if I want to and hit the Save button. If there are amendments to the bill, -1, -3, -17 amendments, you can attach them as well using the attachment function. Those attachments needed to be added to the Materials tab, which we'll talk about in just a second. Governor's reviews work exactly the same way. Again, I click the review request, identify who I want to review the bill, the due date, the due time, and type in my message and hit the save button, and that will send a blue sheet review or a governor's review out to that individual reviewer. The materials section is where we manage the actual documents associated with the bill. You'll recollect earlier we had all of the documents that were submitted to the legislature that show up in the documents section. This materials section truly is the virtual file cabinet for a bill. If you had testimony that you wanted to attach to the bill, or a PowerPoint presentation, or just about any type of document, you can do it here from this materials section. Adding materials is easy. I can click on this Add Material button, and it will take me to a wizard that allows me to do that. I can give it a name if I want to give it a name. I can give it a description. I can identify a date. And again, if I just had a simple URL I wanted to type in, there's an article on Oregon Live that was important to me. I could just type in the URL. Alternately, I can use the browse functionality. It will open up my file manager, and I can attach a document as I would attach a document to an email. Once I hit the save button, that document will show up here under the list of documents and be visible to anyone that has permission to view documents within the application. There's a couple of other things you can do. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of here. Once you've attached documents, you have the option of sending them. To send a document, you click on the Send Material toggle. It'll take you to a Send Material wizard. From here, I can give it a subject and introduction text. That subject will appear on the subject line of the email. I can send a carbon copy to myself. I can attach any attachments that need to go with it. And this introduction text is the body of an email. Any emails you generate from this Send Materials wizard will appear to the end user to come from you. And if they hit the reply button, any replies will come to your email address. Once I've set up my subject line and my introduction text, I can come down here and decide who I want to send it to. There are two categories of folks you can send it to: people in the building, House legislators, Senate legislators, or any committees, or internal to your organization, any bill managers, bill reviewers, and notification recipients. Once I open an individual field of recipients, I get the option of selecting exactly which of the recipients we're going to have included in our email. Once I've identified the recipient list, I can hit the Send Now button, and it will generate that email. I'm not going to send an email right now. I'll cancel out of there, and it'll take me back to the main materials page. If you had sent that document out, there is a Show History. That Show History will tell us who sent the document, when it was sent, and who received it. The next toggle is a votes toggle. This gives me a list of the votes to the bill. It's, again, straightforward information that we gather from the legislature. The tracked votes tool allows us to essentially do our vote count. A couple of things about that. If you wanted to, again, track what was going on an individual vote, you can click the Edit Votes feature. It'll take you to a vote editing wizard. And here, if I knew that Representative Bentz was a no on the bill, I could mark him as a no. If I knew that Representative Evans was a yes, I could mark him as a yes. I can also add notes down here for individual legislators if I have specific notes related to my vote count. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of there. Again, once you've updated that, it shows you the status of your vote count here on the circle graph. So that's the track votes function. Session end notes are special notes that you can include on your end of session reports. Including them is easily done by clicking the Edit Note toggle. Finally, linked bills. This is the last function in the bill detail page. Why might I want to link a bill together? Well, as many of you know, it sometimes takes 3, 4, 5 sessions for a bill to either pass or to finally die. So we could link bills together. Linking bills is easy. You just identify the session that you want to link the bill to and link the bills together. Once you've linked the bills, you'll see it'll show up down here as a linked bill, 2013 special session. And by clicking on the individual toggle, it'll take me over to that bill so I can get more information about what happened in that session. I could see the history or any meetings or bill reviews that I had on that bill in a prior session. And then once I'm done looking, I can come back here and toggle back to the original bill I was working on. That's the linked bill functionality. So again, how did I get there? At any point, if I click on bills, it'll take me to the list of bills. And if I click on the hyperlink bill name, that will take me into that bill detail page where I can gather more information or supply information about any legislation. All of that is under this bills selection. There's a couple of other things I can do from this bills page. The most important one is probably managing the review process. If you are using BillTracker to review legislation, it's very difficult to each time go into each individual bill and hit that review tab. You can shortcut that process by going to the reviews section of the bills page. Here is a list of all of the reviews I've sent out. In this case, I've routed out 27 reviews. Here, the color coding is slightly different. Any reviews that are in orange have not yet been completed. So from here, I can send the bill out for a reminder, send the review out for a reminder. Again, I can delete the review request, or you'll note down here, I have another option. If that review was sent to me, in this case it is, I'm Kevin Neely, I can complete that review inside the application. That's a really handy feature if you have a lot of bills that you need to review. You can come up here, identify your name from the list of reviewers, hit the filter button, and it will give you a list of all of the reviews that you have pending. I'm going to select both my names here, hit the filter button, and you'll see I have each of the reviews that have my name listed with them. Clearing the filter again gives you a list of all of the reviews. To complete a review is simple. If you click the Complete Review button, it will take you to a new page, and this is the exact review form that any end user would see. If there were any specialized review forms that you needed to fill out, they would show up under this Review Forms toggle, and here I would establish a position, a recommended priority, type in any comments. If there were an attachment, maybe I had produced some testimony on the bill, or I had a bill analysis form I needed to attach, I can do it just as I would attaching a document to an email, and I can of course suggest an alternate reviewer. Once I save that review, it's going to tell me that the review is saved, and I'm going to go back to my main bills page. And you can see now that bill has been reviewed and it's in blue. Bills on this page that are in blue are reviews that have not yet been accepted. So again, if I scroll down, you may see a green review here. This green review is a review that has been accepted. That means that I agree all of the recommendations, the comments are all high quality and I need to remember them. Orange bills, as I said, are incomplete reviews. They haven't yet been done. And blue bills are reviews that have been completed, but no action has been taken. So what happens if I complete that review? I could take a look at this, House Bill 4001, intro, modifies conditions under which a landlord may terminate month-to-month tenancy. If I agreed with the recommended position and recommended priority, I could accept that review. If I accept that review, it gives me